Hi everyone, my name is Tahani Nelson. I'm the author of the Faye Chronicles. I've been asked quite a bit recently about book covers and how did I know when my book covers were good enough to be put out into the world? The short answer is for a lot of the time I didn't. The last Faye and the Faye Chronicles have gone through a lot of different renditions for their book covers before I really knew what I was doing. So I kind of want to show you a little bit right now about where we've come from and where we've gone with the book covers so that if this is a daunting or overbearing process for your book, that maybe it won't be so scary when you've seen how far we've come. So we're going to start with this one. This is the original book cover that I had for the last fight. It came out in 2017 and was published by a little indie publisher. And for a first version, I'm still very proud of this cover. Shout out to Evan Graham. He was the one that designed the front cover for me, and I still love it. I never expected anything this beautiful when I was originally starting out. So the front cover I still like quite a bit. We'll talk a little bit about why it's changed in just a couple of moments, but this is where we started. However, while I still love the front cover, I was the one that was in charge of the spine and the back cover, and those are terrible on this first edition, and I'm going to show you right now. So this is the spine. It's in a nice font, so that's nice, but it's very, very 2D. It's very boring. It doesn't reflect the front cover at all. It's not great. And then the back cover, it's it's the most unprofessional back cover I think I've ever seen on a book, and the fact that it's my book makes it that much worse. Most of you out there in the world right now have this first edition of The Last Fight with this giant, untexturized, just hit you in the face block of text for the back cover version. And so, for your sake, I do hope that eventually I am famous enough that these first editions are worth something because this cover is just it was my first try. And we've learned since then, but I always keep one around so that we can see where we've come from because that's how that's how we grow. Also, the very first covers, because of the publishing company I went through, they're a little bit dark. You can't really see that Kaya's eye is green, and all of the pages kept falling out of all my first editions, and it's terrible. So, for those of you that have one of these, I'm so glad that you supported me in the beginning. I'm also very sorry, and hopefully that someday I will be able to show you that I am actually a professional author and capable of more than this. But this is where we started. After I finished with that publisher, I was able to start self publishing, and we ended up with this as the second cover. It's a little bit brighter. You can see that Kaya's eye is green. Most of her face is still covered with the word the. We'll talk about that in a moment. But now we ended up with this pretty graphic, and it says Book One of the Faye Chronicles up here. For the first time ever, the spine had a little bit of a texture on it. It's a little bit more 3D. It looks a lot nicer. And it says Book One of the Faye Chronicles on the side. And then the back cover, which I still think that this is one of my favorite back covers because it is very pretty, it's very eye catching, but it is also very busy. And that was not the greatest thing, but I am still really happy with this back cover, and I was really glad that we at least tried it out. This is the second edition of The Last Fight. I think that only 5 of them actually ended up getting published. So, including this one. So, I think there's 4 of you out in the world right now with this copy of The Last Fight. And if you're one of them, then congratulations. You're one of like 5 people that ended up with this. But this was the second edition. I still really like it, but then, thank goodness for Writers Therapy, they contacted me and said, hey, you've got a nice cover, but can I help you get some tips on how to make it look a little bit more professional? So they gave me some advice, and we ended up with what is now the current copy of The Last Fight, which looks like this. And now that I look at it, it is so much more obvious that this is how a cover is supposed to look. Like, her face is not covered by text. My name is at the top of the book, which I did not realize was an important part, but is definitely part of the book market today. So there we go. We learned something. And the writing is huge and beautiful and very easy to read there at the bottom. It also says Book One of the Faye Chronicles at the bottom of the front cover. So overall, this is a much nicer cover. You can also see that Kaya's eye is green like it's supposed to be. The spine, much nicer, very easy to read. It says The Last Fight, and it says Book 1 at the top of the book, which as you add more books to a series becomes more and more important. And then the back cover, for the first time ever, is very streamlined, very easy to read. It's not overbearing, and you can just read the back cover without being distracted by different graphics or having difficulty reading it because I added too much stuff to it. So this is our current version of The Last Fight, and I'm really, really happy with how far it's come. It took a lot of steps, it took a lot of learning, but it's also nice to know that I was not stuck in the same cover as I learned more about the market and as I learned more about book covers. So that's the 3 steps that The Last Fight is taken. Fiery Betrayer just came out, so it actually hasn't had as much changes or as many changes, but it does have one. This is the original version of Fiery Betrayer. This is the only copy that was ever put out, and you can see that it says not for resale across the top because it was my author copy. And basically the biggest thing is that we found out the red doesn't read well. It's difficult to read the red, especially because I have so much red in the background of the story. Also, Alana's face was a little bit covered, and that shouldn't be. And originally my name was on the bottom in red, difficult to see and difficult to read. The background, or the back cover, again, very, very pretty, but with the red it was too difficult to read, and there was just too much going on. It was way too busy. So again, Writers Therapy contacted me and said, hey, here's some suggestions on how to make it better, and this is the version that we ended up with. It's much easier to read. My name is at the top. Lana's face is not covered at all. Again, with the spine, it says Book 2 up there at the top of the spine. And then the back cover is much easier to read because it's all one color. It still has the cool background with the flames and whatnot, but it is not as distracting. It's not as difficult to read as it was originally. So those are all of the covers that we've had for The Last Fight and Fiery Betrayer. It is possible that a different cover will come out when I do a box set for the trilogy at the end. But for now, I just wanted to let you guys know that wherever you are in your book cover making process, try not to get so deep into your own head that you can't move forward. Covers are important. I'm not going to pretend they're not important. Covers are the main thing that people originally look at to decide if they want to even look at your blurb or if they even want to try your book. Covers are important. But no matter where you are in the process, you got to remember that the inside of your book is the most important thing, and a cover can be changed. You are not stuck with a less than ideal cover for the rest of eternity. So I would rather you experiment and learn and put something out into the world than get so afraid of your cover that you don't offer the world your book at all. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that made it a little bit less scary. I hope that you loved my first cover as much as I do, and that wherever you are in the process, it's probably not that bad, and you can overcome that. Best of luck to you in all of your writing endeavors. Keep your shields up, and if you have any other questions, let me know. I have a video out there about typesetting. I have one about Amazon ads. I'm happy to talk to you about anything that you want to talk about in the process of the publishing world. Just let me know. All right, shields up, Fai.